All right, we are going to continue on now with Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. If you have a question for Denny, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start here with Dustin, and then we'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Denny, in your mind, what is fair? What do you need to know, be able to know as a driver in terms of point situation in light of what happened last week in NASCAR, seemingly to indicate there's going to be some guidelines moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard what those guidelines are.
What do you, from your seat, what's the information you feel like is important, and why is it important?
Why it's important is because ultimately, if, for instance, someone is allowed to go into Martinsville, and we've seen this. This is not something new. What happened last week is not new. We've primarily seen it mostly at the lower levels at Martinsville during those cutoff races where people were wiping each other out. That's, I would like to know if I'm in a vulnerable spot, that the person behind me is emboldened to make a bold move and then put me broadside in the middle of the racetrack to get, because there was no caution, by the way. I mean, we were just kind of sitting in the middle of the racetrack backwards. So I think it's important to know that. And then I don't see any reason why I can't know what the point situation is. I've always asked what the point situation is. I didn't in this third stage. I think the team gave me an update at the end of the second stage simply because I was restarting, I believe, behind Chase Briscoe and someone else, and they were saying at the time Briscoe's close. So at that point, I don't want to put him in a bad spot. I know I'm basically in. And so I think that's important information to know. So I think that if you see through evidence there's clear manipulation going on, I don't think what gets said on the radio should really matter. Everyone has eyes and ears, and so you should be able to see when someone deliberately does something to manipulate the finish. It's a weird one in my case because I had no dog in that fight. I had no allegiance to either party, and so at that point, my question would be: do I have a right to then choose my competitor? And that's an interesting one to ask that I truthfully still don't know the answer to.
Respecting you wanting to have all the information possible, do you see the other side in the sense of it could present the perception that if you or any other driver knows all the situation, that if they react in a certain way, that could influence what happens? And just, perception for sometimes can be reality. Do you see that there's that perception and that can potentially lead the series or the officials down a slippery slope if a driver has certain knowledge and they react in a certain way?
Yeah, maybe, but all situations are different. If you watch a college football game today, there's going to be a game, there's going to be a spread, and somebody will be leading with 3 seconds on the clock, and they're going to run backwards into the end zone and get a safety, and it could change what money has changed hands. So, they chose what's best strategy for them. They didn't care about your bets or whatever it might be, right? I think some of the sensitivity around this is obviously probably gambling focused, because I know that NASCAR is very, very sensitive, as they should be, with that, to make sure everyone's getting a fair shake. But on the racetrack, I feel as though as long as you don't have a bias to one party or another, I don't know why you can't make the best decision for yourself. But because the points are about to reset. You know what I mean? That was a cutoff race for me personally. Whether I finished 17th or 18th meant zero, nothing. At that point, then I actually gained the advantage by being able to choose, if I so choose, if I wanted to. But I don't know whether I still don't know whether that's acceptable or not. It was a very weird situation. It was a very unique one. It may or may not come up again at some point. But it's, I'm more wondering what is going to be allowed. Are people going to be allowed to intentionally wreck? I said on my podcast that what I did to Chastain at Phoenix, I don't know how it's any different whatsoever. I'm not saying there should be a penalty for Ross or anything, but it's an intentional wreck is an intentional wreck. What's the difference? So I certainly would like that clarification sooner than later, so we all know what to expect.
Okay, we'll go to Dustin and then Bob.
Dustin Albino, J-Ski. Denny, 7 of the 8 drivers in this round have multiple Championship 4 appearances. So what does that say about the depth of these drivers and teams in this round?
I mean, it says a lot about the depths of the teams, for sure. I mean, the top 3 of each manufacturer have cars represented. The more you try to make it common that still the resources and the best drivers are going to find their way to the top. It certainly is very, very tight from top to bottom. And again, we've got really 2 races to make it. Talladega is going to be a coin flip for all of us. So we have 2 races to try to execute the best we can, and hopefully speed wins out. And hopefully you don't get unlucky. That's going to be the difference. Someone's going to get lucky and someone's going to get unlucky to either make or not make the Final 4.
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Parker's Fox Sports. So would you like NASCAR to also clarify whether you could have not passed Ross in order to knock Joey out?
Yeah, those are the 2 questions. Am I allowed to make a decision, being that I have no allegiance to either? Because I would argue that I've earned the right to decide. They put themselves, unfortunately, in a vulnerable spot where I get to decide. But how's it any different than, like, I don't know, a super speedway? If I know I can't win, I'm picking which car I'm going to push to the finish. I'm probably going to push the one that I think I don't want to get 5 bonus points. So we always have those scenarios where we're picking and choosing who we're helping. But that and the wrecking at the end, for sure.
You said Talladega was a coin flip, so how big a difference is it that's in this round rather than the previous round, and does it put any more emphasis on today or tomorrow?
I think it does from our standpoint, and it will for everyone's. I mean, if you leave here in a hole, then you're now counting on a good Talladega race, and you can't really count on that. You might as well budget yourself to finish 25th in points with no stage points. That's like a realistic, how many points usually you're going to get when you go to that racetrack, unless you get fortunate. So this racetrack to me is certainly probably the most important.
Okay, we'll go to Zach and then to Lee.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. Denny, what are the tangible benefits of winning this race as a playoff driver? I know we talk about the importance of it every year, but what can happen? What can the 11 team do that it can't do if you guys don't win tomorrow? What are you guys able to do that is just more difficult if you have to still focus on Talladega and Martinsville?
Yeah, are you asking like kind of what's the advantage of getting it done?
That's right.
Yeah, obviously, to shift most of your resources to, Phoenix is certainly a benefit. No one's going to go do simulation for Talladega. But they are. If you don't win here, you're going to start working on Martinsville right away. All 8. Well, if one of us wins, 7 of us will be spending more time on Martinsville, where that one is now got an extra week on Phoenix. It's not 2 weeks like's advertised sometimes in the media. You don't really have a 2-week advantage. It's 1 week. You're really just skipping Martinsville. So I think it certainly is an advantage. It's absolutely an advantage. Is it a substantial one? I don't know. I'd have to see the numbers, but it seems like those that have locked in early to the Final Four, has run really well or won the championship. So, yeah, I think that's why this one is so big for all the teams. I mean, Martinsville's big, don't get us wrong, because none of us know until we get to that point. But this one is certainly one that you either want to have a massive points day or you need to go out there and win it.
Go ahead, Lee.
Denny, Lee Spencer, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Do you think the Toyotas can recreate the magic you guys had at Kansas prior to that final corner?
Yeah, I hope so. I mentioned to our team that, if we can just bottle up what we had there and bring it here, and certainly the tires are the same, but, we got radius of corners that are different, banking's a little different, track surface is a little different. It's hard to say that you can just, because it's the same tire, it's all going to work out here. You can't. But I certainly made it very clear that whatever combination we had with that type of track, enter all your X's and O's of the differences of this track and then refigure it out to come to that same result, because obviously our Kansas car was extremely strong, and Vegas has been hit or miss. I mean, I remember going through a 3-year period where I felt like I should have won every race. And then over the last few, we've just been kind of mediocre. And that's mediocre for us is 5th to 10th. So hopefully this is one of those weeks where we've got it figured out. But certainly I've been very encouraged by our speeds on these types of tracks in general. But this track more than others, race history matters, because it's so unique because of those bumps and this surface, that it seems like teams that it didn't matter if they ran well at Kansas or not, they come here, they've got a great baseline, and they're fast. And so I think race history means more here than the correspondence to Kansas results.
All right, we'll take one more question in the back here on the left. Do you want to raise your, yeah, sorry. There you go.
Noah Reed, West Coast Sports News. Denny, you've talked several times in the past about win number 60 and Bristol and Kansas and what it would mean to you. I'm curious, in a perfect world, which of the next 3 to 4 races between now and Phoenix would you like to see 60?
All of them.
Well, what would make one race, if you could choose, if in a perfect world, why would these 3?
Probably this one, simply because it would be the advantage we talked about for Phoenix. It would be sleeping well for 2 weeks, being well rested and stress-free going into Phoenix. And it's a great city to win in. I like to stay an extra night.
All right, Denny, thanks so much for your time and good luck this weekend.